So this is clearly a very different kind of video. We don't often talk about movies, but this video isn't just about the new Ted Bundy movie coming out. It's also about Ted Bundy himself. I felt like this is something I wanted to talk about because I'm very fascinated with serial killers, which is kind of a generic thing to say. It's in every white girl's bio on Instagram. I just love serial killers. But it's true. I think it's interesting, maybe interesting is not the right word, to read up on somebody who's got that kind of mindset, who's capable of doing such terrible, terrible things. This guy murdered and raped 20 to 30 women throughout like the 70s. And it takes a very different kind of person to do that, so it's interesting, I guess, to read up on it. So the reason we're here talking about this today is there's a Ted Bundy movie coming out in 2019 called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, which stars Zac Efron as Ted Bundy. And people are upset. Admittedly, it doesn't seem to be a lot of people from what I can find, but there are people out there upset because the trailer makes him out to almost be the good guy, almost like a likable hero, charming, if you will. And that's literally the point. But I'll be completely honest, when I first watched the trailer, it caught me by surprise as well, because I just didn't know what the hell kind of movie it was, because the tone is very, very odd, the music is very, very odd, and I just come off of watching the Netflix documentary, the Ted Bundy tapes, Conversation with the Killer, so I just got through watching, the real-life shit about this guy, and then I watched this trailer for the movie, and it's just, this very upbeat tone.
I'm more popular than Disney World.
But again, this is the entire point. This is actually an accurate portrayal of Ted Bundy. He was able to kill so many victims because of his intelligence and how charming he was. He's able to talk women into going with him, getting in his car, going with him somewhere, and then murdering them. So for people to be upset by this, regardless of how small amount of people might be, it's kind of ridiculous. You clearly don't know anything about this guy. But even if the movie does paint him in this likable way, a charming way, where he's almost the hero of the film's actually based off of a book written by Elizabeth Klepfer, who was Ted Bundy's fiancée. You're talking about a woman who was in love with this guy. All the way through his trials, when he's locked up, when he's in death row, until he got killed, she was on his side through all of this. I mean, she even got impregnated by him while he was locked up in prison during, their conjugal visits or whatever the case. This woman was in love with this guy, so clearly a film based off of her book, written from her perspective of their relationship, is going to make him look like the good guy. That's kind of, again, the point. But if you read articles from people that have actually watched the movie, they say the movie is very accurate. It portrays him as the bad guy. You know he's the bad guy when you're watching the movie. It doesn't make him some misunderstood character. But again, I can see why people who watch the trailer would be questioning what the tone of this movie was. I fell for it as well the first time I watched the trailer. To kind of further the tone of the trailer and some of the film, the guy was so likable and charming that there's women that would show up to his trials dressed like his victims. Hoop earrings, hair parted down the middle, dye their hair brown to match some of his victims. That's how, likable, I guess, he was in his time. That's how attractive some women found him. I mean, it was all but 100% certain that this guy was guilty of the things he was being charged for, and his women just did not care. And kind of a side note, was this guy really that attractive? I don't think he is. No homo or whatever, but this guy, I don't think is that attractive. I don't understand what women saw in him other than maybe his charming personality, I guess. The dude was so narcissistic and full of himself that he ended up being his own lawyer through most, if not all, of the trials. That's the kind of guy we're dealing with, and that probably added to his charm and his appeal to a lot of these people. And the reason the story was so talked about in its time and even discussed to this day is that he was a pretty regular guy. He was pretty intelligent, but other than that, he was just a normal-looking guy, sounding guy. You wouldn't think he'd be a serial killer, and again, that was kind of the appeal of it all. He was seemingly a regular guy, but he was guilty of killing, upwards of 30 women. It's just, you never know who it's going to be, and this was kind of breaking at the time, because you kind of had an idea of what a serial killer was, or what they looked like, and he matched none of that. It kind of opened up the eyes of everybody around the world that, you know what, it could be literally anybody. It could be the guy you're matching with on Tinder this weekend. Or it could be Grindr. I don't judge. So if the trailer's making people uncomfortable with how likable Ted Bundy seems to be, then the people making the movie are doing their job, man. It just makes me want to watch it more, because that's how it should be. They just made him out to be, oh, look, Ted Bundy's a monster. Oh, he killed people. Okay, he did, but then the movie's just going to be another generic Ted Bundy movie. They have a ton of those. I'm far more interested in this portrayal of Ted Bundy, and I definitely want to see it even more now with how uncomfortable it's making some people. So like I said near the beginning of the video, it is a very different style video for the channel, but it is something that I felt like talking about, and I like to switch up the content every now and then. But it also kind of fits with stuff we do on the channel, because it's about people that are upset over something with no real basis for being upset. So I'll pass it off to you guys. What are your thoughts on these people upset by this? Are you interested in this movie? Did you watch the Netflix documentary? Is really good. The movie may or may not be that good. I'll probably watch it. I'm not going to watch it in theaters. I'll watch it at a later point in time. But the documentary on Netflix is very interesting if you're interested in that type of stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid. And my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys. Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever.
for a while, quit acting like a